Welcome to Rise and Unwind, a show where we focus on lifestyle, wellness, and feel-good stories to start your day. My name is Kayla, and here's what we have coming up next.
And so instead of beating yourself up and saying like, oh, why can't I stick to a budget? Ask yourself, what's driving my choices? Why am I overspending when I'm not wanting to? Is this in alignment with my value of stability, or is it pushing me further away when I do this financial action?
I'm asking you to consider kind of what your own line is of where you'll draw the line between whether something is too much about entertainment or whether something's good intentions justify it being entertaining.
All that and more on Rise and Unwind. A cancer diagnosis can change everything, and for some people, it's a journey with unexpected twists and setbacks. Multiple myeloma is a blood cancer that often returns, making support and information especially important. Joining us today are Dave, who was diagnosed with multiple myeloma in 2018, and Dr. Robert Rifkin, a hematologist-oncologist with UC Health System. Thank you both for being here.
Thank you for having us. We're delighted to be here on behalf of GSK.
Dave, when you think back to when you were first diagnosed, what moment still stays with you?
Well, I think it wasn't one specific event or sharing of knowledge that stood out. It was a series of events that happened very rapidly. And by that I mean I went in for my annual physical, and during that visit, blood was drawn. And the next day, my doctor called me and told me I was very anemic. And she set up an appointment for me with a doctor at a local cancer facility in the Boston area, which is close to where I live. And while I was there, the oncologist had more blood drawn, and I was waiting for those results. And while I was waiting, I was leaving work the next evening, and I stopped in the men's room. And while I was there, I slipped on the floor, and I broke my femur and did damage to my hip. And I was now lying in a hospital bed waiting for surgery. And while I was lying in the bed, I was told I had multiple myeloma, and I had never heard of it before. I had no idea what it was. So at the time, the impact wasn't great because, like a lot of things in life, I figured, well, you get hurt, you break a bone, you get it repaired, you move on with your life. Well, it wasn't quite so simple, as I learned over a period of time. I was released from the hospital following surgery after a couple of days, and I went back to the oncologist, and he explained to me just what multiple myeloma was, and I had a very aggressive form of it. And my treatment began that very afternoon. And so this all unfolded over a period of 5 or 6 days.
And living with relapses can definitely be exhausting. What has helped you keep going during the hardest times?
Well, relapses are, in my opinion, horrible, obviously. And, I've been fortunate to have a number of remissions over what's now been over 7 years that I've had this disease. But I've always had relapses. And when a relapse takes place, it's discouraging, it's disheartening, and it's also very scary because when you suffer a relapse, what you're on, the treatment plan, has stopped working, and you have to find a replacement treatment very quickly. And going through this, I've always maintained a positive attitude because I know there are always new options to be discussed with my healthcare team. And in moving forward, I'd have to say that compared to what I felt early on in this diagnosis, once the disease was fully explained to me and the ramifications, my wife and I believed we'd never be able to do anything in our lives that we love to do again, and that hasn't been the case. As an example, over the last few years, we've traveled out of state. We've gone to our middle son's wedding. Last fall, we went to Italy and a bit of a cooking and eating tour. In the end of last year, my wife and I, along with our 3 adult boys and our daughter-in-law, went on a vacation to an island. And lastly, we're also dog lovers. A couple of years ago, we adopted a dog. So yes, it is horrible news to receive, but maintaining, I think, a very good attitude and always maintaining hope, we've continued to do these things that we love to do, and our lives have been lived at a very high level of what I call normalcy.
So, Dr. Rifkin, why is it so important for patients to stay closely connected with their healthcare team?
Well, I think it's important to understand that multiple myeloma is the second most common blood cancer, with about 36,000 new cases per year in the United States. Additionally, Over 150,000 patients are living with the disease and being treated. Excitingly, we have a new drug, Blenrep, which has just been approved in combination with bortezomib and dexamethasone to treat patients just like Dave with multiple myeloma that has recurred or didn't respond to 2 or more treatments. Importantly, patients and their healthcare team should look at all the medications you're on and talk to your doctor about any of your other conditions. Blenrep, just like anything else, can have side effects. In particular, eye problems, including decreased vision, are common and can occasionally be severe. So importantly, those taking Blenrep will need to seek an eye care professional examination prior to each dose. But this is exciting because it can be administered in the community and it produces deep and durable remissions.
What does the approval of new treatment options mean for people whose cancer has come back?
Well, I think that's actually exciting, if you can use that word, in cancer patients. Everything we're doing now is really targeted therapy designed to the specific blood cancer they have. And that's exciting because they're effective and produce long-lasting remissions.
And finally, for anyone watching who may be facing this themselves, where can they go to find reliable information or support?
So clearly, education is empowerment in this disease. It's important to start with your healthcare team. Additionally, the Multiple Myeloma Research Foundation and the International Myeloma Foundation both have great websites with patient-facing education material and new drugs in development.
Dr. Rifkin and Dave, thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah, thank you.
Do you ever feel like wellness advice sounds great until real life shows up? Most of us want to feel better, but we don't want perfection pressure. Joining us is TV show host and lifestyle expert Jamie Hess with easy ways to press reset and keep it simple. Jamie, I'm so glad you're here today.
Thanks for having me.
So the new year gets people motivated, but motivation fades. What helps habits last?
Yeah, New Year's resolutions aren't just about starting new habits, which can feel unsustainable, right? It's honestly about checking in with yourself and choosing what fits into your everyday life. I always say focusing on small and realistic changes is going to make it so much easier to stay consistent and build that momentum. And I'm really excited to share that this is where Target can be a partner on your wellness journey. You know, the retailer is entering a new era in wellness, expanding its assortment by 30% with thousands of new items under $10. So Target is simplifying what's defining wellness in 2026 with the curation of the newest trend-forward and budget-friendly options, which just makes it easier to find what works for you.
You know, don't let my husband hear that. You just gave me a new excuse to go to Target every day. And when life is busy, what are some small wellness choices that actually add up?
Yeah, a big wellness trend right now is just about getting back to basics and being more intentional with those everyday choices, like things around gut health, you know, functional hydration, convenient protein. For me, it all starts in the morning with these simple swap outs that kind of help set the tone for the day. My new favorite gut healthy breakfast is the Coconut Cult Probiotic Coconut Yogurt with flavors and single serve sizes that you can only find at Target. I also like switching out my morning coffee with something called Rise Mushroom Coffee. It just feels more balanced than my usual cup, which I really appreciate on those busy mornings. And then later in the day, when I'm craving something sweet, I reach for a Misfits plant-based protein bar. It tastes like a candy bar, but it's also packed with protein.
And I know you focus on progress over perfection. Why is that so important?
It's so important. You know, when we talk about self-care, that's a great place to kind of clock that because self-care can feel like a chore, right? It's really best when it's simple and realistic. I gravitate towards routines that don't take a lot of time, but still feel intentional. And Target is a great place to discover those types of self-care essentials. My new favorite is the Target exclusive. It's from Remedy Skin. It's their 3-step skincare kit. Now, this is formulated by dermatologist Dr. Shaw, and it includes a cleanser, a vitamin C brightening serum, and a moisturizing cream, which helps take the guesswork out of skincare. Then for a quick moment of self-care during the day, I love the Prequel Multi-Quench Hydration Face Mist, which fits seamlessly into my routine. And while we're talking about routines, for families, because I have 2 little boys, having those everyday staples around the house really matters. And Target expanded its assortment with solutions for the whole family in mind, like the Tubby Todd all-over ointment. This is one of those great do-it-all staples. It's a rich and creamy balm made with plant-based ingredients that mom and dad can use, and so can the kids. And then while we're talking about the kids, I'll tell you this, my kids love the First Day Kids multi-gummies, which fits easily into busy family routines. They're delicious gummies that are really made to fill those common nutrient gaps and support energy, focus, and immune health, which, of course, as a mom, I care about for my 2 little boys.
And I hear you have some simple ways that people can move more without carving out extra time.
Oh, you got it. I mean, people always ask me, how do you stay so motivated? And I say, I don't. But when I feel unmotivated, I have a really easy life hack. You ready? Get a cute new workout outfit. That's it. It makes you want to get out the door, go to the gym, take that walk. And lucky for us, Target just launched a bright, colorful mix and match collection from JoyLab. This piped sports bra paired with a matching high-rise piped legging is one of my personal faves. It's great for workouts, errands, and everything in between. And Target will actually be adding more than 1,000 new apparel and accessories items throughout the year, so you can refresh your gear with the seasons.
Those are so cute. I'm in.
Yes, exactly.
And if viewers want more inspiration and ideas, where can they go?
You know, you can find everything we talked about today in Target stores, on Target.com, or in the Target app. It's just a great place to explore affordable, everyday wellness options that fit your real life.
Jamie, thank you so much for being with me today.
Thanks for having me.
January is when a lot of people promise themselves that they'll finally get their finances back on track. But with record credit card debt, that can feel overwhelming pretty fast. Joining us today is Dr. Erica Rascher, a financial wellness expert with Beyond Finance, to share realistic ways to reset your money mindset. Thanks for being here today.
I'm good. Thanks so much for having me.
So I am hearing an insane number, $1.23 trillion in credit card debt. That is shocking. How is it affecting families right now?
You know, record debt can mean record stress for many families. And that 1.23 trillion figure tells us that many families are relying on credit cards just to get by. We're not talking luxuries, but we're talking everyday essentials and expenses. And of course, when those balances, keep growing, it creates this constant sense of pressure and uncertainty. And so for the average household, this isn't just a money issue anymore. This is a mental health issue because that persistent debt, it can erode confidence, it increases stress, it ratchets up the anxiety that is felt in the home. And of course, it makes it just that much harder to plan for the future.
And why do so many people struggle to stick with financial goals after the new year?
January, we're still in January. It still feels like maybe like a little bit of a reset. But, our research said that, Americans have really kind of stopped believing that these resolutions lead to lasting financial change, with 83% of them not continuing past March. And what this tells us is that, people aren't failing at resolutions because they're bad at sticking to them. But really, it's because goals don't tend to stick around if they aren't aligned with a person's values from the get-go. A lot of people rely on just sheer willpower, this initial hit of motivation, and then it kind of dwindles. And so if you're listening to this right now and you're like, I'm a little low on that willpower, a little bit low on that motivation, and I'm thinking of getting rid of these resolutions and just moving on with my life, maybe take a pause first and dig a little bit deeper to understand what values shape your attitude, your whys around money. So your attitudes, your behaviors, your beliefs, and work to address how those can improve your money management and your financial wellness and progress towards your goals instead of this willpower piece. And hopefully that'll get you a little bit further than March.
And as you just kind of mentioned, you talk about starting with values instead of strict budgets. How does that help people stay on track?
First thing to remember is that sustainable financial change happens when you put yourself in a position of self-understanding first and not in a position of self-criticism. If you're beating up on yourself, it's not going to get you very far. And so this values-based approach, which I really, really believe in, means starting by asking, what matters to me the most? What is my priority? And so for many of us, that's security, stability, family, freedom, maybe having some fun once in a while, and then letting those values guide your financial decisions. And so instead of beating yourself up and saying like, oh, why can't I stick to a budget? Ask yourself, what's driving my choices? Why am I overspending when I'm not wanting to? Is this in alignment with my value of stability, or is it pushing me further away when I do this financial action? And once you kind of take yourself out of it and put it in the context of values, it helps you start to build habits that feel supportive and sustainable and nourishing, and takes you further away from, this pressure of habits that feel punitive or restrictive.
And what is one small change people can make right now to feel more in control of their money?
One thing I recommend is just reminding yourself that, progress does not have to be perfect. It just has to be personal and sustainable and done from a place of self-compassion and kindness, not a place of self-flagellation.
And one last question for you. Where can our viewers go to find more information?
Yeah, your viewers can visit beyondfinance.com's financial wellness section. We've got some really great free tools, some educational resources, And we even have a new money mindset checklist that's designed to help people reflect on their values specifically and hopefully reduce a little bit of stress in the meantime.
Thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you so much for having me.
Do you ever feel like you're juggling family schedules, screen time, and self-care pretty much all at once? TikTok recently launched a new free resource designed to make those everyday moments a little easier to manage. So joining us is Lisa Hayes, TikTok's head of safety public policy, who are here to share how the new For You calendar can help families stay organized and how parents can tailor TikTok settings to fit their household. Welcome to the show, Lisa. How are you, my friend?
Thanks for having me, Dan. I'm doing well. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you. TikTok's For You calendar just launched. What inspired this idea? And what problems were you hoping that it would solve for families?
Well, the For You calendar is our latest resource designed to help families have conversations about their online experiences and to build balanced digital habits together. If your schedule is anything like mine, you are still recovering from the holidays, you're getting the kids back to school, you're trying to stick to the New Year's resolutions. What I love about this calendar is that it is designed to help families work together to be intentional about how they are spending their time each week, both online and offline. It is a free physical calendar that lets you look at your week at a glance, planning your day-to-day activities alongside mindful moments. We've partnered with Linda Tong Planners. Linda is a very talented artist who has created this calendar in a way to spark conversation about families and to really make it easier to sit down with your teens, to think about how you're going to hold on to those 2026 resolutions and get to the end of the week ticking off everything you've planned to do at the start of the week.
And this calendar isn't just about appointments. It focuses on mindful moments. And how does that reflect what you're seeing from families using TikTok pretty much every day?
The calendar is not just about organization, it's also about connection. It is designed to help families start conversations about how you are spending your time. And the hope is that those conversations can help you build healthy habits as a family. I know in my family, we will be using this calendar every weekend to sit down and look out at the coming week together as a group. One of my New Year's resolutions is to try to get more sleep. So if I learn from my teenager that she has an early morning soccer game on Saturday, I know that I should not be scheduling a late night dinner on Friday. The idea is to spark conversation, build connection as a family, and all be moving forward through the week together, being intentional about how you are spending your time.
Okay, so I shouldn't be staying out till 3 a.m. when I have interviews at 8 a.m. Okay, I got this.
I mean, or maybe you should. It's about being intentional about whether you should be doing that and making a conscious choice about the right schedule.
All right. And you also partnered with small business owner and creator Linda Tong Planners on this. Why was it important to collaborate with a creator for this project?
Well, Linda Tong's content on TikTok is fantastic. If you'd like to see how she creates these calendars behind the scenes, you should definitely check her out on TikTok. It's important to us because small businesses are just a critical part of the TikTok community. And if you are able to go to the For You calendar hashtag, you'll get some ideas of how parents and others on TikTok, other creators, are using this calendar already with their families to plan those intentional moments.
And while families are organizing their schedules, you're also encouraging them to review their TikTok settings. What are a couple of simple tools that parents may not realize are already available for them?
I know we're asked to do a lot as parents. That's why TikTok has built in more than 50 safety and privacy protections for teenagers that are on by default. But every parent should take the opportunity at the start of a new year to go check out family pairing. Family pairing is our tool that lets parents connect to their teens' TikTok's accounts and to put conversations in place as a family about what the right experience is for their teen on TikTok. How much time should your teen be spending on TikTok? Are there certain hashtags or filters that you might want to filter out of their experience? Every family is different. Every child within a family is different. And the family pairing feature lets you have the conversation with your teen about how to help make sure that their TikTok experience is not only safe, but is also fun and the right one for them.
And as a mom yourself, what advice do you give families living in this new digital world when it comes to finding balance Not perfection, but balance.
Always start these conversations with your teens from a place of curiosity. What are they doing online? How are they spending their time? What creators make them laugh and bring them joy? In my family, we love watching TikToks together and seeing who interacts and relates with what content. I love travel talk. I mean, I love to think about future dream vacations. My daughter loves book talk. She loves to discover new authors. My octogenarian dad loves STEM talk and the latest science content. But the important thing is that we are doing this together as a family, building sort of constructive conversations about what we are doing online, and that we're starting those conversations from a place of curiosity, learning what everybody else in your family, particularly your teens, is doing online is my number one tip as a parent. Start from curiosity and let your teen teach you how they are navigating the online world.
Lisa Hayes, I want to thank you for joining us today. Where can we go for more information and maybe get this calendar?
Well, we want the calendar to be as accessible as possible, so we have partnered with Linda Tong to provide a limited number of the calendars for free by visiting lindatongplanners.com. She will ship you the calendar directly to your house. And as I mentioned, check out the hashtag #ForYouCalendar to get some ideas about how other families are using the calendar to build intentional moments online and offline.
Lisa Hayes, I want to thank you for joining me today.
Thanks so much for having me.
Have you ever watched a true crime show and wondered, where's the line between justice and entertainment? There's a new documentary called Predators that takes a hard look at Dateline's To Catch a Predator and the world that grew around it. Emmy and Peabody award-winning director David Oza is pulling back the curtain on the show's legacy and what it says about us as viewers. David, I want to thank you for being here, my friend. How are you?
Good. Thanks for having me.
Okay, for people who only remember To Catch a Predator as a big TV moment, how do you describe what Predators is really about?
My film is really unpacking the legacy of this show, which was this segment on Dateline NBC in the 2000s that would set up a hidden camera in a sting house where men who were having online chats of a sexual nature with decoys who were pretending to be minors would then show up to a house, meet the decoys, then meet a journalist named Chris Hansen. He'd then interview them. Being filmed by hidden cameras, tell them that they were being filmed on a TV show, that they were free to go, but then they'd be arrested by law enforcement. This happened hundreds of times. The show was a sensation. And we really weren't very critical about what was happening when this was airing because we'd never seen anything like it before. This existed on the internet back when everyone was fluent in the internet, but before social media. So we really were just exploring this new phenomenon as far as we were concerned. At the time of just, wow, the internet's a scary place. And we found a way to enjoy this news program. Now, I think that what happened then is that we created a template for modern true crime, which is that you have journalism and law enforcement working together to create some type of entertainment. And that's really one of the legacies of To Catch a Predator.
So when you started digging into the story, what surprised you most about how the show actually worked behind the scenes?
I think when I started to really understand one particular element of the show, it sort of stood out to me, which is that these men were already able to be charged with a crime before they ever showed up to the sting house. The crime is online solicitation of a minor, but then they show up at the house and they could be arrested right then and there, but instead they're interviewed by a journalist who's not telling them who he is necessarily, and then they're filmed and then they're told they're free to go and then they're arrested. So all that part, that middle part, is kind of theater, and it's all for us to watch at home. So when I started to think about that, I started to realize, well, there is a huge component of this that's really just entertainment. And it's not the first time in the world where you reach people and give people something to watch, and then that moves the needle on a national conversation. But how does that then shift into maybe potentially that kind of entertainment becoming used more flippantly, more randomly, and disregarding potentially the human cost of what that entertainment creates? Those are some of the questions I liked to get into when I made the film.
And the film really leans into some ethical gray areas. You got the stings, the cameras, the way audience reacted. What are some of the biggest questions that you wanted viewers to wrestle with when they watch this?
To be completely honest with you, one thing I'm really eager for viewers to wrestle with in terms of questions is actually just how they feel watching the show. or my show rather. I'm a documentary filmmaker. I'm also asking people to consider certain things about what do I do for a living? What do all of us do for a living when we're telling people's stories? There's some things in my film that are hard to watch. There's some things in my film that I think will make you laugh. There's a big journey in this story because I'm asking you to consider kind of what your own line is of where you'll draw the line between whether something is too much about entertainment or whether something's good intentions justify it being entertaining. And we don't have answers to that. Everyone has their own answer to that question. We all kind of have our own line in the sand about what we think. Well, it's actually more like a line in asphalt because it really is hard to change how we feel about whether something is right or wrong. And we don't like it when people try to change it for us, I've noticed in society. So my film's kind of about asking those questions and asking you, how do you feel when you watch some of this material? How does it make you feel?
And you talked to some former decoys, the host, and people who were directly affected by the show. Was there a particular interview or moment that changed the way you saw this whole phenomenon?
Not one particular interview or moment, although I spent time talking to Chris Henson in the film and many of the decoys who were involved in the story. All of it was very interesting and compelling to me, and in part made me think again about, well, I'm, for example, asking some people in the film to recollect some pretty hard moments. There was an incident of a man in Texas who took his own life when the camera crews and the police came to his house to arrest him for the sting. To Catch a Predator. And I interviewed some people who were involved with that story. And I asked them to bring up, some hard memories. And I remember thinking to myself, wow, I hope I'm not traumatizing these people. But again, those are the kind of questions that I think you only start asking when you're thinking about what are the ethics of making stories out of people's lives. Documentaries have been doing that for years. True crime's been doing that for years. But this film's really not just about To Catch a Predator, but it's about the ethics of how we tell stories.
And as you were saying, that true crime is bigger than ever right now. After making Predators, how do you hope people think differently about the shows and content that they are choosing to watch and their role as an audience?
Not to sound like a broken record, but I don't want to tell people specifically what I want them to think, because that's our problem, I think, in our society, is that we've got a lot of people telling you all the time what you should think about something. And I just want you to go on a journey with this movie. I designed it so that it challenges the way you feel at all times about what you're watching and looking at. And there's going to be times when you're uncomfortable, and there's going to be times when the person sitting next to you, who you thought was your BFF, might be making you uncomfortable because they disagree with you or you disagree with them. But I think that is the hard thing about being a human being, is that sometimes we disagree with each other. It doesn't mean we are wrong. It means we're just complicated. And this is a show about trying to take complication away. There's good guys and bad guys. And I do think the world is more complicated than that. It's not about defending child predators. It's not about making you feel bad for them. It's about asking you to consider, how do we treat people?
David, I want to thank you for joining me today. Predators is now streaming on Paramount Plus. So if you remember To Catch a Predator or just want a smarter take on true crime, this is one to check out. David Ozit, thank you so much once again for joining me today.
Thanks for having me.
That's it this week for Rise and Unwind. Thanks for spending part of your day with us. For more episodes and updates, be sure to follow us on social media. That's at Rise Unwind. If you'd like to be on our show, head to our website at riseunwindtv.com and fill out the form. And if you'd like us to be on your show, surprise, it's the same form. We're organized like that. And lastly, we are on YouTube at Rise Unwind, if you maybe want to click that little bell to stay updated and check back next week. Until then, take care of yourself, and we'll see you next time on Rise and Unwind.